Hi, I'm Scott Noonan, the CEO of Audio Advice. This video focuses on the 5 tips to improve video in your home theater and is part of our ongoing series of tips to improve your home theater. Whether you just installed your theater and want to make it a little better or feel you've lost some of the pop from the picture when it was first installed, this video is for you. If you follow these 5 tips, you'll find yourself quickly immersed back in your favorite movie or series, but with a nicely improved experience. Now let's get started. You can do these one at a time or all at once depending on the amount of time you have. For all of these, I've decided to follow the 80-20 rule. What I mean by that is most of these tips could get very deep and have a small book written for someone who wanted to take tweaking and fine-tuning as far as possible. For the most part, these tips will get you 80% of the way there with just 20% of the work and usually without spending a dime. We've even created companion test pattern videos that you can use for free on YouTube to get the most out of your theater. If you enjoy these tips, be sure to like and subscribe to get the latest home theater content and tips and tricks. I'm going to assume you already have the right screen size for your room and have addressed any light that might be spilling onto your screen. We have some great videos on these subjects at our Home Theater Central section of our website, which is linked below. I'm going over these tips in the order you should do them if you have a front projection home theater. If you have a flat panel TV, you can skip past the next 2 sections and go straight to the final 3 tips. Almost all front projectors have a way to shift and zoom your image. Yours may have drifted slightly over time or may no longer be perfectly aligned with your screen. I find the best way to do this is to pull up the home screen from your favorite streamer, be it a Roku, Nvidia, or Apple TV. This should be in a normal 16:9 aspect ratio. Use the zoom function to get the image to fill your screen from top to bottom, then use the up and down shift to make it fit perfectly from top to bottom. This will require you to bounce back and forth, adjusting the zoom while shifting the image height. I think it is a good idea to have about 1/4 inch of the image overspraying the edge of your screen to avoid seeing any video noise that is sometimes present on the top or bottom of an image. A great way to check this is to hold a piece of blank white paper against your screen border with a bright image displayed on the screen. Once you've done this, use the left and right shift to center the image. If you have a wide screen that is wider than 16:9, use a tape measure to make sure the edge of the image is the same distance from each side. Once you're done, make sure to save this setting if your projector offers that option. For those of you using lens memory for widescreen, pull up a widescreen movie and repeat the same process using a movie that is in a 2:3:5 or 2.4 aspect ratio that matches your screen. Be sure to save this as your widescreen setting. And if you have more memory settings available, you can set multiple aspect ratios this way. For instance, if you're a fan of European Netflix series, you may want to set up one for 2.0 widescreen. After you have got your zoom and shift all lined up, you now want to dial in your focus. We've created a really good test pattern so you could nail your focus even better than using the grid that comes with projectors. I'm going to put up our pattern here in a second. If you want to do this now, you can pause on the pattern. If you're using a Roku or Apple TV, you'll want to hit the menu or up arrow on your remote after you've paused it to take the pattern back to full screen after you pause. Alternatively, you can just keep watching this video now and go out to our companion video with the pattern later. When you're adjusting focus, if you can access it from the projector remote, you want to be right in front of the screen. If you need to adjust focus at the projector, you should get someone to guide you who can stand at the screen or use binoculars. This pattern has lines and crosshairs you can use to examine your focus. The idea is to make those lines as sharp as possible, particularly in the middle of the screen. When you're very close to your screen, you will probably be able to see the individual pixels once you have the focus set properly. If you see some overlap of colors, don't worry about that now. You will dial that out in our next tip. If you notice that as you focus, one of the outer lines gets blurry while the opposite side gets sharp, your projector may not be perfectly square to your screen and you'll need to adjust its mounting bracket. Now let's move on to panel alignment. Most front projectors, other than single chip DLP ones, have a way to align the 3 colors used in the light engine, as they are on different tiny chips that normally need to be fine-tuned to be perfectly aligned. We find when customers ask us to come upgrade their theaters that more often than not, their panels are out of alignment. So it's one of the most impactful things you can do to improve picture and clarity, and also one of the most missteps by installers learning the space. Your projector will typically have a section called panel or pixel alignment. To get it right, you need to make sure your projector is warmed up for at least 30 minutes before you do this process. Your room should be as dark as possible too. There's typically one adjustment that does the entire screen, and then an optional second step to adjust individual areas of the screen. For 99% of cases, shifting the entire panel is all you need to do to get your red, green, and blue all aligned properly. Watch as I use this Sony projector to choose installation, then select panel alignment, and then select shift the red into alignment, and then I'll select blue and align it. This step is so important that I created a specific video showing you exactly how to completely nail the process to get the sharpest image possible. The link is in the description below if you want to see the more detailed video. After you have finished the panel alignment, you will probably be able to fine-tune your focus a bit more, so go back and have a look at your focus again. The next 3 steps apply to all types of display devices. First, you want to make sure your sources are outputting the best possible video signal. With today's latest components, most of them attempt to use the HDMI connections to determine the highest level of video your television or projector can display and automatically set themselves to be correct. However, sometimes you'll find that the settings are outputting signals below what your system is capable of. The first step is to go to your television or projector menu and look under the input feeding the signal to your projector or TV. If you have a television or projector capable of HDR, you'll want to confirm this is on. In some cases, it may not be called HDR, but something else, like you can see here where on Sony projectors, the higher bandwidth input is called enhanced. Make sure that is on. And speaking of HDR, you've probably seen the term HDR when you're looking at new televisions and projectors. HDR stands for high dynamic range. This technology is made to deliver far better contrast and a wider range of lifelike colors than ever before. If your TV or projector is not capable of HDR, you should consider making an upgrade to one that is, if you really want the best picture. This was a pretty major breakthrough that happened a few years ago. Once you've done this, it is likely your video sources will see this better capability and automatically adjust. But just in case, let's take a look at how you can adjust your sources. I've got the video menu for an Apple TV pulled up, and you can see how you can engage HDR. The rule is whatever the best picture your display can produce is where you want this set. For instance, if you can do HDR, set it there. If you have an earlier 4K display that cannot do HDR, set your sources for 4K. You get the point. Normally when you make a change at the source, your screen will go blank, then come back up with a way to select OK to show you can see the image. You should also remember higher resolution video in HDR require HDMI cables with a higher bandwidth than the type that were around a few years ago. So even if you have an Apple TV and your projector or television can do HDR, but you have old cables, you likely will not be getting an HDR signal. If you're upgrading components, it makes sense to go ahead and get HDMI cables capable of 48 gigabits per second. These will handle the latest HDR and set you up for 8K and the higher speeds used in newer video games. I'll now show you some settings you will want to adjust on your television and possibly some of your video sources. Most televisions and some projectors come with the picture set super bright to stand out in a showroom environment. While this setting may catch your eye in a showroom, it sacrifices great contrast, colors, and picture. So once you get in your home environment, you really want to get the very best picture possible for your environment. So let's look at your picture settings and get them where they need to be. These can normally be found under the picture menu of your display device. While the names will vary from brand to brand, you will likely see one named Cinema, Natural, Filmmaker, or Reference. These generally have the best combination of contrast and colors to match what the content producers originally wanted. So in most cases, simply select one of these 4 depending on which brand you have. The exception would be if your room has lots of ambient light and you just have to sacrifice picture quality to get the brightness you want. In this case, you would want to experiment with a slightly brighter setting that is as close to these as possible. I've got the settings pulled up here for a Sony front projector. Cinema 1 currently gives the best results for Sony projectors. One important tip is to leave this setting in place for several hours or days after you go from one setting to the other. Going from a much too vivid or bright setting to a more accurate one will, in the short term, make you think it is not as good. Giving your eyes a rest will help you see the better quality of a more reference level setting, and you will appreciate the improved contrast and colors versus focusing only on the brightness. With most modern TVs and projectors, choosing the correct picture preset that we just talked about gets you very close to optimum. It used to be you had to spend hours adjusting all these functions you see below the picture presets, but the industry's gotten so competitive, almost all the top brands set up their displays to come very well calibrated out of the box if you choose the right preset. However, if you're fanatical about getting the best picture, then there are 3 settings you want to consider tweaking: brightness, contrast, and sharpness. Unless you're a professional calibrator with expensive test gear, you're better off leaving all of the others alone. To help you with this, we've done companion videos with brightness, contrast, and sharpness test patterns you'll find linked below. The last tip is an audio and video combination adjustment. Every projector and any video processor in the signal path will add delay. This will cause what you are hearing to be out of sync with what you are seeing. It drives me crazy to see people's lips either behind or ahead of the speech. The adjustment for this with most components is called lip sync. This adjustment is usually found in the settings of your surround sound receiver or processor. Most of them will let you adjust each input individually, so if you have both a Roku and Apple TV, for instance, you'll want to set the lip sync in your receiver for each of these inputs. We find that lip sync can be hard to adjust without great visual cues. So we've created a lip sync companion video on YouTube specifically designed to help you easily lock in the perfect lip sync setting. You can see what it looks like here, but you'll want to use the companion video so you can take your time and nail it. Once you've used that video, you will wonder how you lived without having perfect sync before, and it will drive you nuts whenever it's out of sync at a friend's house. I hope these tips help you take your video from good to great. To get the latest home theater and audio content, be sure to like this video and subscribe. If you have a favorite tip or suggestion you did not see listed here, feel free to post it in the comments for everyone's benefit. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our companion videos, including our top 5 tips for improving your home theater audio and top 7 most common home theater mistakes. If you have any questions on these tips or are looking to upgrade your theater, give us a call or chat with us at audioadvice.com. Also, check out our free home theater design tool, how-to videos, inspiration gallery, and home theater showcase videos at audioadvice.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.